Uh. Da. Nicht mal eingestellt. Okay. Der Schlüssel. So, 4. Episode, die vorletzte. Hab's fast geschafft. Ein bisschen. Dann bin ich damit durch. Let's go. Episode 4. Twisted Karma and his last bow.
Pipe in hand, Sholmes looked down at the thick, rolling fog outside our window. I wonder exactly how many mysteries are out there, hidden within this bed of fog, he said. Indeed, a most bizarre incident, born of a curious advertisement. A hellhound's mad gallop through the shadows of a serial murder, an executed man's graveyard resurrection in the dead of night. And a commonplace killing in a small, forgotten room at the edge of town. There is, naturally, always another side to every case, of which most remain ignorant. And it is that other side which compels me to the scene of the crime, Wilson. So quickly now, take your hat and let's be on our way, my dear fellow. For our adventure is not over yet. Come, the game is afoot.
Spiel beginnt. Hi Luca. Morgen, wie geht's? Guten Mittag, ja. 8 days after that earth-shattering trial and Cosima regaining his memory. We were in the foyer of one of London's most luxurious hotels, the Great Waterloo Hotel. Ooh, 1st November, 10:24 AM. Great Waterloo Hotel foyer. Professor Mikotoba is due to arrive at any moment. Yes, I'm so glad we got here in time. The sun has been the same since what happened. But then I'm surprised. The truth about Kazuma-sama's father... do you suppose my father knew? That he was actually the mass murderer, the professor, you mean? I knew that's what she was thinking about. There's a good chance, I would say. I mean... they did come here to London together 16 years ago, didn't he? Yes, that's true. Come to think of it, didn't you say Professor Mikotoba knew about Kazuma going missing in Hong Kong as well? That's right, but for some reason he wasn't at liberty to talk to me about it. That probably means he knows then about Kazuma showing up here in London with amnesia and that he's regained his memory now. Ah, there she is. Oh, what is the Richter? Oh, hello, Sudato. Hi, how are you? I'm very well, thank you. We're delighted you have arrived safe and sound. Komplett anders aus. Hello, Mr. Naruto. Very kind of you to take the trouble to meet us here. Oh, no, not at all. It's my pleasure. We heard all about your extraordinary exploits here in London, you know. The news across the seas. It has. I always look forward to reading the monthly report that arrive with the steamships from Britain. I see. Well, thank you very much. Who is this man, and why do I feel I thought I've seen him before? I take it from your expression that you can't quite place me. In that case, how about a little reminder, Seishiro? A firm tap should do it. Yes. A firm tap? What? Here we go then. I heard we pronounce the defendant, Ryunosuke Naruto, guilty. Oh, you are... The court will now hear the trial of Ryunosuke Naruto. Your Excellency. Hello, Judge Chigoku. How are you? Been a long time. Good, you have remembered now. That really did the trick. Guilty! Ha ha ha. Onya was declared not guilty, wasn't I? And there was no laughing at the time. So London again after all this time. Hard to believe it's been 10 years. Oh, der war auch dabei. To be honest, I never thought I would be back. Neither did I. Okay. I didn't imagine Japan would have been invited to an international symposium like this. Sorry, I doubt anyone did, to be honest. It's all thanks to you, isn't it, Seishiro? What are you talking about, Jujin? Yeah. Of course, Judge Chigoku must complete the set. He's the other man who 16 years ago came to London with Kasuma's father and Professor Mikotoba. He is the third visiting scholar. Well, all these passport checks and logistics searched at the border took rather a lot of time. I must say, I'm very envious of your ministerial status. You didn't have to go through any of that, did you? Ah, I knew you were jealous. That's all I feel. Sorry, ministerial status? Yes, didn't you know? Seishiro here is as a Japanese Minister of Foreign Affairs. That was the personal insistence that allowed you to take Kasuma's place here on this studies tour. Guilty as charged. Oh, well, thank you very much. Really every bit as important as he looks. Yes, now, Naruto. I received a telegram from Lord Strongheart yesterday. Oh, you did? It appears that some things came to light in the trial you were involved with 8 days ago. About what happened 10 years ago. That tragedy. Yes, could you tell us any more about it? Wenn you're from Japan, dann machen wir kurz das. So how was the voyage here? Well, 50 days at sea is a long time by anyone's standards. But it wasn't as bad as when we first came 16 years ago. No, that's true. Then I truly wondered if we wouldn't be drifting in the vast ocean for the rest of our lives. This time we followed the same route as you, so we were able to relax and enjoy the experience. So you stopped in France's beautiful capital, Paris? We did, yes, though only for one night. And yesterday's evening we left the port of Dunkirk for Dover. Just in time for the symposium, in fact. That's tomorrow. It's wonderful that you were invited to attend such an important international event. I'm really proud of you, Father. I think it's thanks to that you were here 16 years ago, he managed to ingratiate himself with Britain's Attorney General. So that's why he was invited, and I suppose you could say I'm something of an appendage by default. Speak for yourself, judging you were close friends with the professor of forensic science at a major hospital. Yes, well, I'd rather not dredge all that up, really. No, there's been a lot of water under the bridge since then, but it doesn't bring him back. Casima's father, I suppose. The professor, the killer who took the lives of 5 members of the British aristocracy, was actually Casima's father, wasn't he? That's correct. Genshin Azogi. Genshin... You knew, I presume, father? Yes, he was a close friend at the time. Genshin came to Britain as a police detective. He was studying investigative techniques in Scotland Yard. I never understood what drove the man to commit such heinous acts. It was a closed trial, so the public never knew the truth. He was executed with little ado. To this day, very few people know what really happened, even in our homeland. But what about Kazuma? Did he know? Did he know the truth about his father? No, of course not. He was told his father passed from sickness. However, I suspect he may have had his doubts. Oh, why? As you know, I tried to guide Kazuma growing up as if he were my own son. Then one day, he came to my office at the university and said, I decided I want to travel to Great Britain and study there. Do you think he wanted to come here to investigate his father's death? I don't know. But when I looked into his eyes, I did know that there was no way I would be able to stop him. Something else came to light in the trial the other day, actually. Oh, what? Well, having disappeared in Hong Kong and been missing for almost a year, Kazuma since turned up here in London, working as the apprentice of Lord Van Zieks. What? What? That's news to us. So, Lord Strongheart's telegram neglected to mention that part then? Uh-oh. As you know, we both thought Kazuma had died on the steamship during our voyage to Great Britain in January. But he didn't die, he is alive. As you knew, didn't you, father? In actual fact, no. But I did know that when your ship docked in Hong Kong, he mysteriously vanished. We sent a team of investigators to Hong Kong to try to ascertain what had happened, but to no avail. But he is still alive, and here in London, you say? I never dared even to dream it. Why on earth did the young man not make contact? The government and the police have been chasing clues fruitless for months now. Well, it seems that he was suffering from amnesia. What? Amnesia? We first came across him again here in London. We didn't know who either of us were. I see. He only regained his memory 8 days ago. It's unbelievable. Yes, it's quite miraculous. I wonder why Long Strongheart didn't let us know. I must speak with him urgently. I wonder how Kazuma's been these past few days. Would it be wrong of us to go and visit him? Hello? That began 16 years ago now. It's a distant memory, really. It was Jujin here, Genshin Azuki and myself. We were the original 3. The first critical scholars from Japan to travel overseas to study. Ocean Voyage were not what they are today, I can tell you. 16 years ago. Things were the death of their generation. Your father was an exceptional fine medical student at Yuma University at the time, you know, young lady. Yes, grandmother told me. He went to do research in a great London hospital to study autopsy, particularly unheard of in Japan. Yes, it was an eerie place, sandwiched between the back of a prison and a burial ground. Not more talk of graves. Very often there's no one willing to deal with bodies following autopsy work. So you see, autopsy labs have something of an unavoidable relationship with graveyards and prisons. Not my cup of tea at all. We remember the Scottish prison governor, Hayden his name was. He was a good man. Yes, but then of course, in our sixth year, everything changed with that dreadful case. When Genshin was arrested for a series of the most gruesome murders. I simply couldn't believe it. I'd known the man for years. I was a witness at a secret hearing and tried to speak in his defense, but you went a little too far and ended up facing charges yourself, didn't you? Well, suffice to say that after the trial, we were sent back to Japan. There was nothing more we could do to save Genshin. He was a lost cause, sadly. Well, if you excuse us now. Yes, I'd like to get this truck up my room as soon as possible. Oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have held you up here for so long. I will call you for the reporter then. Just wait here. The sun goes off at around. I'd like to stay and talk more, but I do have various preparations to make for tomorrow. Yes, of course, it must be a big responsibility representing our entire country. I wish you the best of luck. Naruto. I hope you will keep an eye on Susato for me. Keep looking after her as you've obviously have been. Oh no, I mean, anyone looking after anyone, it's her looking after me. Well, I do appreciate you being there for her, after all. I have been a miserable father to her. I have thought I has really let her down. Sorry? What do you mean? Well, it was 16 years ago that I started my long study tour here in Britain. The very year Susato was born. Yes, I heard. The birth of my daughter was the most joyous event of my life. But, well, sadly it was accompanied by the most tragic event of my life too. Oh yes, Susato-san hinted at something like that. It was a rather turbulent time at home. Anyway, I won't bore you with the details. The point is, I become rather less dependable than befits a grown man. It was then that Seishiro offered me the opportunity to study here in Great Britain. I was too worried about you to leave you behind, so perhaps I was a little heavy-handed when it came to persuading you to accompany me to London. So, that's what happened in a nutshell. And that's also the reason why I now feel compelled to give my daughter as many opportunities as I dare. Though the world does not readily afford young women such things, I must say. I completely understand, Professor. Ah, one other thing, Naruto. If I may be bold, I have a favor to ask you. Oh, really? Of course. What can I do for you? Well, the thing is, I'm so sorry that took so long. Mr. Naruto, nicht darüber. Now then, allow us to take your bags. Allow me to take your bags. One moment, if you please, Porter. Of course, sir. The machine around your neck. The camera, I believe. Right, sir. Just 5 shillings for a lovely photograph to commemorate a wonderful stay at the hotel, sir. Well, I think given the occasion, we could justify the expense. Yes, of course. I'd like to thank you for coming with me, Mr. Naruto. It's really made Father very happy, I think. Oh, well, I'm pleased then, but we were interrupted before. Professor Mikotoba was about to ask me something. Do we return to Baker Street then? I expect Iris will have some delicious tea waiting for us. Ah, yes, let's go. I'm getting more and more anxious about Kazuma, though. Perhaps I will try to meet with Lord Strongheart later and ask after him. Ja, später. Aber erstmal zurück nach Hause. First November, Schaum's Sweet. Oi, was? Oi, oi, oh. What was that? A man screaming in the most unflattering way? Do you think would it have been Mr. Sholmes? Oh my, I do hope not. I don't do it anymore. Mon ami, mon ami. Stop this disgraceful display, huh? Who are these people? Look at their hair, it's bright red. I think they must be clients of Mr. Sholmes. Right, you two? You're coming with me now, down to the clink. No, not in prison, it's dark and damp and I don't like it. Huh. The darkness is my friend, I'm not scared. wait, yeah, but you're always scared of the dark. Shut your mouth, you idiot. I will sit quietly in the dark and plan our next starring guest. Hey, I don't like this, I don't like it. Well though, we will finish it down the yard. Now, get moving. Bye then, Ginny. Have fun. Oh yeah, thanks Iris. And thanks, you're a great detective. Oh. Was ist passiert? Gina makes a fine detective herself, doesn't she? Oh, Susie and Bruno. Hello Iris, we are home. Well, did you find your daddy? Yes, we arrived at the hotel just before he and his friends. Oh, well, that's great news. I hope I will get to see my daddy again soon. Ah, yes, of course. Dr. John H. Wilson. So, Iris, all that remains now is that greatest of problems known to a man. But before we concern ourselves with that, I believe some tea is in order, don't you, May, dear, my fellows? What? There's something wrong, Mr. Naruto. Do I have a crump or such like in my face? Not so much on your face. It's on your head. Okay. Come along then, everyone. I have brewed a lovely special blend. Time for tea. Whatever is going on here today. In that case, I'll sit and drink now. For I am in fact expecting a guest later today. Mr. Sholmes? Who were the two gentlemen that were here before? Oh, just a pair of pretty criminals, nothing of significance. Of course, they have to make a living somehow. And when the mood takes me, I'm willing you turn a blind eye to all manners and infractions. When the mood takes you? All manner of infractions? But when such fellows set the side of Mr. Herlock Sholmes, well, that's when the luck runs out. Oh my, you were the target of a crime, Mr. Sholmes? But I quickly devised a plan to entrap them and deliver them to our young detective ally. I should have asked Crexy to come too. We could have had an interesting tea party. I did send word, but no answer was forthcoming. The man is constantly in the wrong place at the wrong time. There's a word for it, I'm sure. Ah, I have it. A bungler. That's the word. A good job he's not here to hear you say that. So those red heads had been up to no good. I wonder what the man did. What was it about the greatest of problems known to man that you mentioned before? Is it another potentially instructed case of the Shums? How should I best explain it? Are you aware of the theory of evolution by natural selection? Chance? Well, I think I've heard talk of it somewhere, possibly. It's a revolutionary scientific theory that was nearly proposed 40 years ago now. According to its elder, Mr. Darwin, we humans were once apes who lived in the treetops. Wait, what? We were apes? Indeed, and from the very moment those apes descended from the canopy to live as humans, it had been our lot to be the mercy of the greatest problem known to man. Our lot? What is a great problem, Mr. Sholmes? Why? What isn't it obvious, my dear madam? The problem of rent. Ah. But did you not receive a rather large sum of money from Madame Tospers only the other day? Sure, a large sum? One bottled herb of iris and new motor for care for my leather, and all of this has quite disappeared, I assure you. Honestly, Hurley, you know you squandered it. Yes, well, anyway, 2 days ago, I discovered the answer to man's greatest problem for the coming months at least. What was the answer? Why, there is a substantial clue for your very eyes. Don't tell me, let me see. Humans are sorry creatures, unable to see what it is in front of their noses. Let me give you some assistance. Don't look, but observe me very closely. There's one particular feature about my person that has changed. You should notice it in the end, I think. In the end? It's been stabbing me in both eyes right from the very beginning of our conversation. I think we might need another clue before we uncover the full answer, Mr. Thanks for the hints. I will be tearing my hair out of this if goes on much longer. Okay. Now, Mr. Sholmes, isn't it about time you told us the truth? Over a week ago, you said to us, I will now tell you something of the first importance, my dear fellow. Great detectives are wont to lie. I will serve you well to remember that. That case aboard the SS Bury in January. Casimir wasn't killed, and you knew he wasn't dead at the time. But what was really going on? The fellow was unconscious for a very long time. If he hadn't regained consciousness when he died, his life would have been in mortal peril. Of course, a side effect of the prolonged comatose state was amnesia, as you know now. It was a simple enough task to silence the crew. But how? After they carried him out of the cabin, I assembled them in the lobby area. I made them swear to leave him unconscious and have him unleashed from the ship in Hong Kong as a murdered corpse. Oh, horrible. It was necessary to find some material with which to persuade the crewmen to keep their word, of course. But why do it in the first place? It will be at liberty to elaborate in due course. But for the time being, I would like to reassure you. I didn't foresee subsequent events. What happened? What events? His disappearance in Hong Kong. I believe I may have made a gross error of judgment. Sholmes. Oh man. The masked customer roared and he was assigned to Lord Van Seeks as his apprentice. When Nick cast it aside after the trial the other day, I just sort of picked it up. You have to give it back and him, suppose? But he has memory back now, doesn't he? And I can't help feeling they might turn around and tell me coldly to wear it myself. But isn't he your best friend? Hey, it says, oh, okay. This looks like last week's edition. It's particularly circled in red ink here. It is an advertisement column. It says to the red-headed league. The red-headed league? That. I don't know. I've never heard it before, but is something on my face? Clearly this has something to do with that lively hair. An account in the guest of the late Ezekiel Hopkins of Lebanon. There is now another vacancy open which entitles a member of the league to a salary of £4 a week for purely nominal services. All red-headed men who are sound in body and mind and above the age of the 21 years are eligible. Apply in person on the morning of the 31st in the large park on the Lemmer Street. Get £4 per week if you are redhead. Okay. Ups, das war das Falsche. Upsala. It looks as though someone circled an advertisement in this paper, Mr. Sholmes. The Red-Headed League, huh? Does that strike you in some way? You're thinking that just maybe it might be related to your bright red hair? So, at last you have learned to apply my methods, Mr. Naruto. Sorry. In the first instance, and quite indispensable observation. Believe me, I could have seen that hair with my eyes shut. So then, allow me to regale you with the details of my latest exploits. Regale or boast? Now what is the red-haired league which seems to be the subject of the advertisement you have circled? You notice in the paper then? That, my dear fellow, was going to be the source of this month's rent payment. It was how? According to the advertisement, The Red-Headed League is a distinguished institution of fellows of unspecified governance. In fact, the only condition for becoming a member is having red hair. That doesn't entirely surprise me. But listen to what the lucky redheads receive once they join. An unconditional salary of £4 a week. Oh my, £4 a week? But why? Why are they paying people for? That I don't know. No details are given in the advertisement. But surely every red-headed person in the country would be flocking to join in that case. Alright, Susie, there's no time to lose. We'll put on my application at once. So I will, just on the off chance. That might be stretching a point, I think. The trouble is, they have a fixed number of members, you see. Oh, I see. So once a certain number of people have joined, no one else can. Let us luck have it. One member recently passed away. It wasn't particularly lucky for the redheads in question, I feel, Mr. Sholmes. So you decided to try. You join in his place? Correct, I mean, look at me. Have you ever seen such a red-headed fellow? No. So why? Why did it have to go so wrong? What on earth happened? A blunder, Mr. Naruto. Though it pains to me to admit it. Blunder? Blunder. What did you actually do to your hair, Mr. Sholmes? I'm glad you asked, Miss Susato. What you see atop my head is neither dyed nor in hairpiece. I changed the color of my hair overnight by the wonders of chemistry. I was conducted some research into the method of rejuvenating spent tea leaves, and in the course of my work I stumbled upon a potion that was taken, turns one hair into flame like red. Would you like to try it out? It will make every hair on your body perfectly crimson. I think I will pass. But Mr. Sholmes, quite safe to drink? Really, it's bad for you, isn't it? Amateurs are always hampered by such fears. But I never had adopted you, Mr. Sholmes. I mean, to say. Of course, but of course. To earn your £4 per week, one must be prepared to turn a blind eye to a little danger. That degree of red sickness, more than just a little danger, sure. Anyway, Harley left full of confidence yesterday with his new red hair. At the park of Wilmer Street, where the Red-Headed League were interviewing prospective new members. So what went wrong? The whole park was shocked, with red-headed folk like Costa's orange bearer. I queued for 8 hours solid before at last I reached the front. But when the panel of interviewers saw me, they immediately said, "Ah, Mr. Sholmes, are you in disguise to conduct an investigation?" So naturally, I had no choice but to reply, "Shh, don't give me away." After which I could do little else but turn and leave. Then this morning, when I looked in the mirror, irritation stirred within me, so I turned that pair into the police. Oh dear, what a disaster for Hurley and those two redheads. Mr. Sholmes, you mentioned before you were expecting a guest today. Indeed, Mr. Dotto, that is correct. Not another of those red-headed gentlemen that were here before? Not at all, they were pretty villains. The guest I am expecting is a client. Oh. A young gentlewoman who wishes to appoint the services of this great detective, no less. Oh, how wonderful, Mr. Sholmes. You must stay and observe the fashion in which a great Red detective receive his customers. Must we? I have now you in my clutches now, Red, just as I have you in my clutches, Red Chats. Hahaha. Okay. That hurt. The laugh is masking by the sinister thoughts, I feel. You know, the lady isn't due for another hour yet. Don't feel as though you must wait about it if you have other things to do. Ja, also, ja, wir haben noch Sachen zu tun, auf jeden Fall. The 1st November, British Supreme Court, Lord Chief Justice Office. Here's the final draft of the opening address for tomorrow's proceedings. I've supplemented your original with the figures you asked for from the yard. I see, excellent work. Thank you. You are welcome, my lord. What's Lord 16 doing here? What? There seems to be an awful lot of tension in the air, wouldn't you say? This place is stiffing enough as it is. We really don't need any more tension. My apologies, I didn't notice you come in. Your small stature and dark dress make you all but invisible to me. Oh, no, it's entirely my fault for wearing black, I'm sure. For now, you must dress in white from head to toe whenever you came here. Now then, Mr. Naruto. Yes, my lord, I'm right here. Kill me now. There's something wrong. Perhaps it's a little too hot in here for you. Nine? No, not at all. I mean, I've never experienced a room at such a perfect temperature. If you are sure, the beds of sweat carrying the weight down to your face seems to suggest otherwise. Because of the daggers you are staring at me with, mainly. As you're not no doubt aware, my International Forensic Science Symposium begins tomorrow. In fact, your father arrived in London earlier today, I hear, madam. Oh, yes, that's right, my lord. He's extremely honored to have been invited. I will leave the remaining preparations for the meeting room in your capable hands then, Lord 16. I will attend at once. He gave you a very cold stare as he left, didn't he? I know, but I haven't done anything, have I? In these past few days, my feet have barely touched the ground, I must say. My dedicated right hand of many years was suddenly put out of action in spectacular fashion. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. It's your left hand still of service? Mr. Nodo, he's talking about Dr. Scythe. Of course. I'm very sorry about that. I was just, you had done nothing wrong. Dr. Scythe's own wrongdoing precipitated the situation. You needn't concern yourself with it any further. That would be a lot easier to do if it weren't for the piercing stare you're giving me. Lord 16 is doing an admirable job of holding the fort. Though, disturbingly, the presence has been missing since yesterday. Missing? What's becoming of Kazuma-sama now? Not long ago, visitor numbers to the Great Exhibition exceeded 30 million. 30 million? Are there even that many people in the world? The comparison with Naruto, the population of the imperial capital Tokyo is 2 million. I will be accompanying the International Forensic Science Symposium in the exhibition's main auditorium. The event has been 2 years in the making, 2 years of preparations and negotiations with other countries. Sounds like a tremendous achievement, congratulations. The 20th century will see the wholesale adoption of forensic investigation techniques, and cooperation between policing organizations around the globe will be essential, which is why landmark first symposium had to be hosted here at the heart of our great British Empire. Now that Scotland Yard can become the leading investigative organization in the new world. He's the same as ever, I see. That passion of his is quite something. You are every bit as passionate as your own way, I'm sure, Mr. Dowolo. I'm the only person in this country who truly cares about a future that embraces forensic science. It was my intention to become Her Majesty's Attorney General and reform the Yard from the ground up. The disgrace of the forensic investigation team has been a bitter blow to my ambitions. I first established the forensic investigation team a year ago, experimentally to start with. With Dr. Size at the helm, it was steadily acquiring an impressive record of achievement. I was on the verge of changing its name and elevating its status to full-blown forensic investigation department. And can you do not that now? Obviously, nobody wants to hear anything about it at the moment. Even I can't keep the story out of the papers. 6 million Londoners will be cursing forensic science now. This incident will set back our country's advancement in the field by a good 10 years, I would say. Unintended repercussions of our trial. You simply couldn't have overlooked what that happened, though. Of course not. You should all be grateful to you both. Anyway, I will still reform this country's policing when I become Attorney General. This might delay my plans, but it won't alter them. Nothing will stand in my way. About Lord Van Ziek's apprentice. Ah, yes, that came as a surprise to me, I must say. That you and her are old friends. But did he become an apprentice to Lord Van Ziek's in the first place? It came about 3 months ago. The unidentified Asian man was apprehended by border police. I found him hiding aboard a large goods vessel. Oh my, so he stood away to get there? To get here? He had no papers to identify him, no passport, and he was suffering from amnesia too. Other than the fact he was clearly of Eastern descent, there were no clues as to who he was. I decided to assign him to Lord Van Ziek's, that way I could keep an eye on him. But then, why the mask? I didn't want to burden Lord Van Ziek's with tiresome explanations about why he had an Eastern apprentice. Because it would be so much easier to explain why he was wearing a mask. He is proving to be a great help to Lord Van Ziek's. I have high hopes for his future. By the way, do you know where he's gone? No idea, but I believe he left London for the time being. Oh. Like you also didn't know that the man's father was one of the country's most infamous criminals, I mean. Genshin Asogi. What we learned from the trial 8 days ago was a huge shock, finding out my friend's father was... Ah yes, Genshin Asogi. The Professor case 10 years ago caused a great stir here in Britain. There were such awful murders, and unprecedented, using a forest dog as a murder weapon. And no one would have believed the culprit was a foreign student. He was a foreign student invited to study here by the government. But the true identity of the killer couldn't be made public then, and can't be made public now. Nobody in our country knows it was him, and neither do the citizens of London. Main motivation was to avoid aggravating relations between our two nations at the time, I understand. Correct. However, it has to be noted that there were some supporters of the Professor's apparent cause. What? Supporters of a mass murderer? Majority of the mass victims were blind on the aristocracy of the day. Somewhat arrogantly, their death actually benefited society as a whole. Also, fair new thinkers in London believed anyway. Right, I see. But it was still murder, wasn't it? Seems very similar, doesn't it? The idea of the Reaper of the Bailey. Ja. Anscheinend kann man nichts mehr zeigen. Okay, dann bin ich weg. First November, Naruto Legal Consultancy. Was Mr. Sholmes? Mal kurz mal stehen, einmal. Yes. Ah, I see. I can vouch for the gentleman personally, after all. He is hard of hearing. Why did I ever get my hopes up? Oh well. Dann... Come on. Forgive me for asking, Mrs. Virgil, but have we met somewhere before? Quite recently, perhaps? Oh my... Psha, my dear fellow, what is your intention? Here you have no ability to differentiate the facial features of the English. If you wish to invite the lady to your tea, you must do so in a more gentlemanly fashion. It is possible that you are the nice young lawyer from the trial I attended last week? Ah, I knew I recognized her. With a man's fate in the palm of one hand, oh gosh, oh golly, it sends shivers down my spine. Didn't quite recognize her because she's acting so differently now. It must be very difficult for you as a lawyer, being hard of hearing, I mean. Pardon? Oh dear, I'm so sorry. Don't worry if you can't hear. It was probably really nothing more. Look at what you have started, Mr. Sholmes. Thank you very much. I believe it would be prudent for you to sit quietly in the corner. Yes. Okay. Tell us about your husband, madam. Mr. Virgil, my lady, is 30 years of age. I have a photograph here. An entirely unremarkable gentleman by appearance at last. How long have you been married? It will be 15 years this year. We have a cordial relationship and my husband's income is more than adequate, so we live quite comfortably. As it would appear, I only look at you to know the things. Gosh, your dress is the latest style. Your head clearly regularly groomed and your eyes are animated. In short, you have no inkling as to why your husband might have disappeared, correct? That's right, he's a kind man with a strong sense of loyalty and he rather dotes on me. Which might point to the possibility that he has become embroiled in some incident or other. Oh, that is exactly what I fear must have happened, Mr. Sholmes. I'm quite beside myself. My husband's employment is somewhat unusual, you see. What if he's in court with some miscreant's ill will? What exactly is your husband's line of work? He's a warder at a prison. A guard? This is somewhat unusual. So, your husband is a prison warder? That's right, yes. Well, in actual fact, he's the chief warder. Indeed? I see. Well, chief prison warder certainly qualifies as something of a specialist occupation. Yes, it does indeed. My poor husband must prepare those dreadful punishments and see that they are carried out. Dreadful punishments? Does she mean a capital punishment? At such times, he must occasionally spend a night or two in the prison dormitory. But for the next extra responsibility, he is removed more handsomely than the other warders. Of course, we make no mention of my husband's work to the neighbors. Yes, I believe your prudence is justified. Tell me, at what prison is your husband engaged? Barsley Prison, Mr. Sholmes. Really? Barsley? Oh, a fine establishment. If I'm not mistaken, there is a large cemetery just behind it. Yes, that's correct. Lowgate Cemetery. No. Lowgate Cemetery, the very place we were discussing in court. That's unbelievable. Unbelievable, my dear fellow, and yet undeniable. Sorry, Mr. Sholmes, I'm afraid you have lost me. Ah, pay no heed, madam, pay no heed. A private matter. This can't really be a coincidence, can it? So, to the matter of your husband's disappearance, when did you realize he was missing? Please try not to laugh. It was yesterday. I'm sorry, yesterday? It really is recent, laughable so. Truth is, my husband does at times have occasion to spend the night away for his work. Not all out of the ordinary way for him to not return at home at night, but this is different. For him not to make any contact for a whole day, that has certainly never happened before. Oh my dear Lily, whatever can have happened? My dear Mrs. Virgil, please, calm yourself. Now then, have you contacted the police? Why, naturally, but sadly, they refused to listen to my pleas as my husband has only been missing for 1 day. I was asked to wait personally at home. In truth, Mr. Virgil, I concur with the police. However, let us not be hasty. I see no reason why we should not engage my deductive powers to track your husband down anyway. Oh, thank you, Mr. Jones. And furthermore, let me assure you, the chance to solve the greatest problem known to man for another month has no bearing on my decision. I seek only to put a sweet smile on another Londoner's face. That's really all there is to it. You have my eternal gratitude. I shall pay any sum you care to mention. You seek only to put the suit's rent in your landlady's purse. That's all there is to it. Ah ja, nur wegen der Miete. Thank you for everything you have shared with us, Mrs. Virgil. I believe I have all the information I need to begin my investigation. Oh, please report to me soon with good news, sir. Fear not, madam. In a day or two, I shall be contacting you with a rehearsing report, I'm quite sure. So soon. Oh, how splendid, Mr. Sholmes. Good news should be deliberately early, as I always say. If you would be so kind as to leave the photograph of your husband in my possession. Thank you. Now allow me to show you the door. I can't thank you enough, Mr. Sholmes. You have been simply marvelous. You know, I think it every time, Hurley. But how do you come out with such nonsense? Good news in a day or two? Are you sure? I can't be sure, of course, but then I didn't swear on it. I merely give the good woman some hope. I hope to be able to give her good news, one might say. After all, the rent must be paid by the end of the day tomorrow. If by that time I've successfully located Mr. Virgil, we'll be mutually relieved. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Naruto? Don't look at me with those pleading eyes. Well, my dear fellow, did you hear the details of the case? Yes, my hearing is surprisingly good, actually. Excellent! And what did you make of it? Well, I was surprised to learn where her husband worked, at Berkeley Prison, I mean. Ah, so you know the dad. Of course, especially with the mention of Lowgate Cemetery. Lowgate Cemetery is at the rear of Berkeley Prison. It was removed among us students at the University of being haunted by the ghosts of condemned convicts. Berkeley Prison is where that notorious man was incinerated. Professor. And now a warder from the prison has mysteriously disappeared, it would seem. Or very peculiar. Indeed, but nothing you can't handle, I'm quite certain, Mr. Naruto. Sorry. Run along to the prison and see what you can glean, would you? Is the prison governor you want? No doubt the man is equally worried. But aren't you going to go yourself? Surely you needn't ask. I can't possibly be seen out with this hair. But didn't you go to Lima Street with that hair? That was a quite different matter. So I leave it in your capable hands. No, if you will excuse me, I'm rather busy. Of course you are. Natürlich. Berkeley Prison is on the outskirts of London, backing into the lonely burial ground. Its four high outer walls loomed quietly before us in the fog. Having requested a meeting, we were shown to the governor's office in the watchtower. Oh, what? What's this für eine Uhr? 1st November, Berkeley Prison, Governor's Office. This place is full of hardened criminals. I can't remember the last time a civilian was done here. And you? Then you want to talk to an inmate, but to me? Do you ken who I am? I'm the governor, Barry Caden. Huh? Oh, yes, it's a pleasure. I'm Ryunosuke Naruto, defense lawyer. An Easterner, I see. Does that mean? Yes, I'm a visiting student of law from the Empire of Japan. Japan? Did you say Japan? Yes. Well, there's not any of your kind in here, laddie. Maybe you should try the prison next door. I didn't notice another prison next door, sir. Anyway, we came to ask you some questions about... I didn't like to be at this direct, but... No intention of speaking with the likes of you, suspicious-looking Easterners. Now get out of my air. So as soon as he finds out that we are from Japan, he reacts like this. It means... I think it's because of the professor case. Thinks you so too. 10 years ago, Genshin Asogi, as known as the Professor, was incinerated at this prison, and then, after his execution, he apparently re-emerged from his grave in the cemetery behind the prison. I might have known. You're sniffing around about the case, aren't you? You're agents, huh? Part of the Professor's great web, no doubt. No, not at all. We are just... Get gone with ya before I punch your lights out. We are going. Really the ghost of that killer still haunts this place. Not going to get anywhere here. Unless we can somehow prove to this man that there's nothing suspicious about us. Governor Caden? What are you thinking, Mr. Dato? I feel that the name came up in the conversation recently somewhere. I was wondering if whoever mentioned him might have some ideas to help us. To think of it, I have the same feeling. Nee, diesmal weiß ich wirklich nicht. Oh, da ist er ja da. That's Professor Mikotoba over there. Ah, hello you two. I was just taking a moment to catch up in the world now that I'm unpacked. But where's Judge Jigoku? Yes, he's not the relaxing sort. He's taking himself off to pay his respects to all the legal bigwigs. Having only just arrived in the country today, goodness, he's full of energy. Professor, you mentioned something before about how you would know the prison governor at Berkeley Prison? Governor Caden, you mean? But it's the same name, the same man. Father, we must speak with the governor. But he refused to talk to us. He said we were suspicious Easterners. Well, I'm sure if I accompanied you, it would be a very different story. Oh, would you? That would be wonderful. You have time now? Sadly, as you can see, I'm very busy at the moment. Busy drinking coffee on a comfortable settle. Now, I have rather a lot of prepare for tomorrow, you know. Oh, sorry, I didn't say that out loud, did I? Ich glaube es nicht. Mimikotabas are alarmingly good at reading people's thoughts. Or could it be that you Narutos are alarmingly bad at hiding your thoughts? Let's not fall out now, I have an idea. What's he writing on that piece of paper? His letter of introduction for you. Hopefully when he sees my name, he will change his tune. Ah, thank you. Oh, warte. Lesen? Oh, it looks like this is some sort of steamship ticket. This SS Cruise, first class cabin 001. Yokohama departure 11th September, London arrival 1st November. Ah, that's the boat of Professor Mikotoba and Charles Shikoku come on from Japan, isn't it? Yes, I think it's called a Dunkirk on the north coast of France for a night before finally arriving in Dover. I think it's been almost a year since we arrived in Dover on the SS Borea. Seems a shame not to keep your ticket as a memento of your trip, don't you think? Yes, I agree. I have mine safely in my diary. I keep mine in my wallet, so I have it with me at all times. Oh, well, how strange. You could have gone. I like this on purpose, Mr. Naruto. Did you imagine it, or was that comment accompanied by a little sigh? So. Dann nochmal zurück und ihm es mal zeigen. So, present. Boom. If you just cast your eyes over this, Governor Caden. What's this then? You kinda pulled the whole wool over my eyes, you got friend nothing Japanese student? Ja. Mikotoba? That young jock from the forensic laboratory, that Mikotoba? Yes, exactly, him. Oh dear, perhaps I should have said something sooner. I'm Chuchi Mikotoba's daughter, Susato. Chip, you're the young man's daughter? And you didn't think to mention that of her? I do apologize. Well, you'd best take a seat then. Can I offer you a cup of tea, perhaps? And then and then forget to try one of those handcuffs biscuits. What? Handshake? What? Okay. Your father's influence is nothing short of amazing. I'm bitterly regretting not announcing who I was from the outset now. So then, what can I do for you, Han? Well, we are currently investigating a case. One of your brothers, you see, is gone missing. Missing? That's right, it's surely been reported to you as well, being the prison governor. I haven't heard nothing of the sort. There's no missing persons in my prison. But how can that be? Mr. Daddy Wiggle, your chief warder? Wiggle? That's right, his wife came to us and asked us to investigate his disappearance. Let's skip the part about him only going missing yesterday for now. Clearly that means something to him. Would you be so kind as to tell us what you know, sir? I, of course. I understand that Mr. Vigil is the chief warder here at the prison. Aye, that he was. Strong sense of responsibility and dedicated to the job, no doubt about it. He was a fine warder. Sorry, did you say was? Aye, he doesn't work here no more. He left the job. Oh my. When was this exactly? There's a question. When was it about? It cannot have been much less than 10 years ago now. 10 years? You stopped working here 10 years ago? Aye, as I minded, I have had the fella's name in all the time. Sorry if he gone missing though. But Mr. West made no mention of it. I think perhaps Mr. Naruto that his wife simply doesn't know. I think she's unaware that he no longer works here. Governor Kaden, tell us what happened. Why did Mr. Roger give up his job here? That's important, is it? Yes, I believe it may be. What are you thinking, Mr. Naruto? Can't help wondering, given that it was 10 years ago. Ah, which was exactly when the professor was being held at the prison. So Mr. Virgil actually resigned from the position of chief warden 10 years ago, you're telling us? What happened to make him leave the job? In actual fact, he didn't leave the job willingly. He had no choice in the matter. You mean he was dismissed? It was after a particular walk. Sorry? Walk? Aye, that's all what avoided here. A walk to the gallows. Ah, an execution? It's the job of the chief warder to prepare the gallows tree and oversee any executions, you see. Only Virgil did something unthinkable on that last walk he was manning. What did he do? I'm sorry, but I can't reveal that information. But I can tell you that it's very rare for a chief warder to be relieved of his post. But why wouldn't Mr. Richard know about it? She appears to be under the impression that her husband still works here. I wouldn't care anything about that, I'm afraid. Can you perhaps answer one more question about the circumstances of this dismissal? And what that be then? That last execution that Mr. Virgil was responsible for overseeing, was it by any chance the professor's? My thoughts exactly. I'm sorry, I really am, but I'm not at liberty to answer that. I see. My father came to Britain all those years ago in order to study forensic medicine. But you seem to have been really acquainted. The dead room, the prison and the cemetery have a lot of do with one another. After all, they need fresh corpses for forensic research. Do you can? Yes, I can imagine. The advancement of medical science isn't always particularly palatable. Your father worked in the laboratory just on the far side of the graveyard, in the basement of Sun Sinners. It's still in use today. Sun Sinners. That come up before, I'm sure. Yes, that's right. We have been there. Kotoba and I often used to ride in the carriage together and negotiate terms. For more fresh material, I suppose. Aye, and we used to sit in here for hours and grab on a brute dissection and other sorts. Oh, it take me back. Over a pot of tea and a plate of calf biscuits, of course. Oh, charming. was a good fellow. Your father, reliable, and dead set on his work. But I'm afraid I will never understand you Japanese. Because of Genshin Asogi, I suppose. Well, I cannot tell you anything else. Thank you so much for your time, Governor. One moment before you are away then. Sure, I have it here somewhere. Ah, found it. Here, take this as we souvenir of your visit to the prison. What is it? That's Virgil's dismissal notice. It's 10 years old now, of course. Oh my, are you sure? Aye, it's not trouble at all. It's not the original mind. Oh wow. Thank you very much, Governor Caden. Notice of dismissal of 25th June. Before the delay, Virgil is relieved of its post with immediate effect of having violated clause 132 of Her Majesty's Code of Conduct of Prisons. All rights to redundancy pay and other financial benefits are fully revoked. Reason of dismissal: aiding and abetting the escape from this prison of convict transferred to his execution. Details of this escape was still being investigated. Full cooperation with Congress will be expected. Additional notes indications are that the jailbreak plot was conceived prior to the convict's insurrection. It's believed that the convict engaged in some form of negotiation with prison staff in order to secure assistance. Full disclosure of information regarding these negotiations will be demanded. Oh wow. Well, in return, do me a favor and never come back here. That case is closed. Well, I think we ought to return to Baker Street for the time being. Yes, I agree. We need to report back to Mr. Sholmes with what we have found on about Mr. Virgil. What will he tell Mrs. Virgil, I wonder? Gut, dessen setze ich mich auch mal gleich hin. There's no mushrooms. Sweet. We're back. Hello, you two. Oh, yeah. I thought you would be back before long, so I baked some scones for you, asshole. Ah, so that's what the delicious... Okay. Greetings, my dear fellows. You have returned a good deal sooner than I was anticipating. Hello, Mr. Sholmes. Hello, Mr. Sholmes? Hey, nothing. Your thoughts are written all over your faces in any case. It turns out that it may have been advisable to test my hair color with restoration tonic before application. Oh my. Pray tell me, what of your water friends? Have you got some new information? Oh, yes, something very surprising in fact. I thought it's not a patch on your hair, to be honest. But certainly was isn't, but still, we discovered that... Sholmes! Oh. Hi, what? Drop everything, Sholmes. This is more important. Gina? Oh, I... I... I can't... Adam and Eve... It... What's happened? Clearly a very grave matter indeed. For Miss Lestrade made no mention of my hair whatsoever. It's the boss. Do you mean Inspector Gregson? The boss is... No, he's dead. Nine. What? They just found his body shot with a pistol. What? But Inspector Griggs, he was murdered? Not Grixie. Come in, my dear girl. Tell us the whole story. Are you serious, Gina? Inspector Gregson was really shot? I don't know much about what happened myself yet. They're still there, investigating the scene. Where did this take place? A little rented room in a building full of flats on Fresno Street. The outskirts of town, nowhere near his home. He was perhaps investigating a case then. The thing is, no one at the yard knows nothing about no case around there. Oh, how strange. The boss was... he was so good to me. I know I ain't up to much yet, but one day I was gonna show him I would become a proper detective. Oh, Genie. So, who did this? Do you have any idea who the culprit is? They got him already? Already? They've thought the shooter so soon? A witness reported something was going on and the boys got straight down there and took care of him. What awful person did this? Oh, ich glaube, ich weiß wer. I still can't believe it myself, oder? Ina, oder doch nicht? It was the Reaper? Das wäre so ein Edward-Fall. Staatsanwalt dran schuld ist und müssen es verteidigen. Oh. Wait a minute. You don't mean they arrested Lord Van Seeks for it? That's right. The Reaper blocks gone and shot the boss. No, what, Lord Van Seeks? What? Are you quite sure, Miss Lestrade? It's Baroque Van Seeks the police have arrested? I saw him with my own eyes in the interview room at the yard. Don't believe it. But there were witnesses and they are saying it was him. So you mean there were actually multiple witnesses? They had a gunshot, apparently. And when our lot got to the scene, there was only the boss and the Reaper bloke in the room. But there's no way Lord Van Seeks would have taken Gregson's life. I just don't believe it. I don't believe it either. What? Thank you for informing us, Miss Lestrade. It really is most terrible news. I'm dreadfully sorry. What are you saying sorry for? You didn't do nothing? Well, anyway, I'm taking a cab over to the scene right now. Please come in all as soon as you can. You gotta help. The detectives lot of appear wherever some sinister plot has unfolded. Little wonder we all look haggard. Sometimes these things are almost too much for the nerds. Mr. Sholmes. What use is being a good detective if I fail to see something like this coming, huh? How could I let this happen to Gregson? Mr. Naruto, I shall leave at once to begin my investigations. Of course, yes, we will too. It would be helpful if you could talk to Mr. Reaper and see what you can glean. I'm sure you were intending to do this anyway. Until later then. Was Dr. Gregson dead? Lord Van Seeks arrested? Oh no, Susie. I've called you a handsome. It's waiting outside. Thank Iris. Shall we, Mr. Little? Yes. What? What? First November, local prison, Cell 1. There he is. Lord Van Seeks behind bars. So it's true. Willie was arrested. Sitting with his back to the wall, reading something. Don't think he's noticed us. Lord Van Seeks? Fancy meeting you here. The last place on Earth I would like to be, with the last person on Earth I would like to see. I could very well not come. We heard what happened. That Inspector Gregson was... Go home. This has nothing to do with you. But... Forgive me, Lord Van Seeks, but I must disagree. Inspector Gregson was very helpful to us on a number of occasions. We are indebted to him at the very last. We owe it to him to find out the truth about his death. Must help us with our investigations, please. There's really nothing I can tell you. What were you just reading at the back of the cell there? Is it something related to the case? This? The yard isn't quite so cavalier with its information as to share case details with a suspect. This is a letter from an old acquaintance. Oh, who might that be? Someone you know. As it happens, Albert Hairbrain. Of course, yes, I keep forgetting they went to the same university. And I would like to read my correspondence in peace, so let's get this over with, shall we? What is it what you know? Strange. I mean, let's face it, Lord Van Seeks never minds his words. But they seem to have less bite than usual somehow. Can you at least tell us your side of the story, Lord Van Seeks? What happened? How much do you already know? We know that the inspector was shot dead in a small rented room on Fresno Street. And that you were found there by the police when they arrived on the scene and immediately arrested. We were told that there was nobody else in the room and that some witnesses heard a gunshot. And you are well informed. And there's really nothing I can add. The truth is, I don't know what happened myself. But the gunshot, obviously you didn't fire the gun, did you? I'm not in the habit of shooting the people I work alongside. I also heard the noise, however. Before I had a chance to investigate, I was apprehended by the arriving officers. But he doesn't actually know what happened. I might ask, what were you doing in that place to begin with? I don't need to answer that. After all, you're not representing me. He's going to need a lawyer, though. Who's going to be representing you in court, Lord 16? Anyone other than you, I should imagine. Huh. Would I be right in assuming that you have no representation as yet? Defense lawyers shy away from any trial involving the Reaper, as I'm sure you know. But this is different. In my career, of all the defendants I prosecuted, only 19 have ever been acquitted. Of them, 16 subsequently died in mysterious circumstances. The question will be asked now. Surely not. I assure you, no defense lawyer will want to touch me, the end of a barge pole. But you didn't actually have anything to do with those people's death, did you? It's been 10 years now that I have been known as the Reaper of the Bailey. Believe me, nobody wants to know the true identity of this killer more than I, however. It seems things may come to a head before I have the chance to uncover the truth about that. What does he mean by that? After the trial, Professor Herbrand was supposed to go straight back to Germany, I thought. It's a letter to inform me of his safe arrival at home. I arranged his passage by sea and rail. It's a relief, I must say. I should now be beyond the reaches of the Reaper. Because the Reaper doesn't follow people about, you mean? Yes, so it seems. You stopped little Nipponese friend, for example. He told me he was keeping well in Japan when I inquired the other day. Yes, that's right. He's an author now, happily working in Tokyo. So Professor Herbrand is safely back in Germany now? Yes. So, it appears our conversation has run dry. There was 2 seconds silence, that's all. Well, in any event, if you excuse me now, I would like to detain you. I was wondering, Lord 16, if you would like, I would be happy to advocate for you. You trust me, do you? Yes. I've heard you speak many times in court. I've seen how you treat people. So I'm quite sure that you would never have taken another's life. It's just, my feelings can't be used as evidence in court of law, sadly. It's a very gracious offer. However, I trust no one. What? Not the police, not the judiciary, and not you Nipponese. But please. I have no intention of engaging your services. The chasm between us is just too wide and too deep, it seems. I'd appreciate if you don't visit again. Then neither of us will waste any more time. Perhaps we need to dig a little deeper. Find out more about Lord Von Zieks and what happened to Inspector Gregson. Oh man. First remember, room on Fresno Street. This really is an out-of-the-way part of London. I doubt many people find their way down this back street. But this dust-ridden, then rented old room is where it happened then. So this is where Inspector Gregson lost his life. Yes, the police are already hard at work investigating, it seems. Don't see Mr. Sholmes anywhere though. Perhaps his investigations have taken him elsewhere. Wait, what do you think you're doing here? Everyone on the drawers has gotta be taken right out, so you can look underneath it all. I want to space above the ceiling checked, and don't forget to look inside the chimney stack too. Blimey, and you lot never gone over an house looking for love when the owners are out of town? Ina's obviously got some unique investigative technique she wants everyone to adopt. Oh, so you've turned up at last. Mind you, I am being ear long myself. Hello again, Gina. Jumps has only just left, and lucky you missed it. He went prancing around an air pointing at Steph and flickering that head office isn't then just scarpet. Oh, he finished investigating already, you mean? Yeah, he didn't stop to say nothing to no one, not even me. Gina, you mind if we investigate it too? Listen, Otto. You're a lawyer, right? Yes, why? Well, you're not thinking of trying to help that Reaper bloke, are you? Oh, poor Gina. I'm not going to forget, that trial will haunt her forever. Gina, if you don't mind me saying, Lord Von Zieks really is responsible for this crime. He will be duty and fairly judged in court. I suppose you're right. Yeah. Go on then, Otto, get investigating. I want to know the truth about what really happened here. Thank you, Gina. Aber erstmal ein bisschen befragen. Gina, what was Inspector Gregson doing here in the first place? That's what I know, will know. Is what I for years since I got out of the clinic. That's when I decided to give up me divine and become a detective instead. I asked Mr. Sholmes twisted the inspector arm to agree to take Jonas and Printance, did he? Somewhat like that, I think. Anyway, the point is, I didn't really know much about the boss till then. But it turns out, a bit of a legend in the yard. Goodness, really? They say he managed to solve some really tricky case, just like that. He did. Yep, and ever since then, he started going out on all sorts of investigations, but always on its own. No one else at the yard even knows what half of the cases he is working on are, apparently. Not how it's supposed to work, is it? What was the legendary inspector doing in a thin little room like this? I know he had a lot of respect for the Reaper and all, and look where that landed him. Respect for the Reaper? In what way? I heard him say as much. If take my head of that feller, where's words? Know how the general public feels, is it? Most people are terrified of the Reaper. Yeah, the boss said that's exactly why he respected the bloke. Didn't realize Gregson held the Reaper in quite such high regard. He said something else to me and all. I didn't need to worry about the Reaper, cause only goes after people what are bad. I did kind of set my mind in keys when he said it. Right. What is this place then? Does anyone live here? Apparently it's been rented by some cove called Huge Boon. Our Hug Boon? Huge Boon? Oh. A sort of here today, gone tomorrow name, that isn't it? Yeah, it's what we call an unidentified person. We haven't been able to get in touch with him. I see, well, judging from what appearances, I'd have to say this place hasn't been lived in for a long time, if ever. Right? All the lads from the yard piled down to get struck into the investigation. While there's a little air, no one knew what to do with themselves. I do wonder. Yes, Mrs. Dado. Well, could it be that this Hugh Boone is in fact Inspector Crixton himself? What? How could that be? Well, if he was investigating on his own, it's quite possible that he was in fact some kind of secret office. I would never even consider that. Nice work, Zeus. We're actually following a line of inquiry like that ourselves. Wow. If you look around the room, you will see there are some few things that hint at it. We should really investigate this place in detail. Mal so was von. Ups, oh no, oh shit. Ich will erstmal runterklicken. I see that's where the poor inspector was found, over there. Yeah, that's right. They said it was a single bullet what did him in. Apparently the bullet went right through him and struck that candle in the tree on the wall. Ah yes, it's blown one of the candles apart completely. Evident does. And the gun used in the floor is still repaired, don't denying that. What? Really? How do you know that? Take it easy. I don't know what to do with myself when you stared at me with that big white eyes. Only thing we've heard, I don't know much about guns myself. But there's some big-wig lawman or whatever who said so. Why don't you ask him? Big-wig lawman, isn't it? Anyway, Fresno Street runs along under the window there. There's some street sellers outside who earned the gunshot. But do you recall seeing anybody outside? Yeah, they've all been taken down to the yard for questioning, that's why. We're talking about the yard's legendary inspector here, after all, they've been getting a grilling. Do you think we might be able to speak with those street sellers ourselves? I doubt it. The lads in the yard will just want to know what you're snooping for, and you will be up for a grilling and all. So we can't interview the witnesses then. Schade. Okay. Oh. The photograph stand. Suppose it must be a picture of one of the Inspector Crixton family members. What's the matter? Your eyes look like they're about to pop out of your head. There you are. Look, Mr. Naruto, quickly. Why do I feel like this woman is familiar somehow? Of course she's familiar. We met her only this morning. Ah, it's Mrs. Virgil? Makes no sense. Why would there be a picture of Miss Virgil in here? To be frank, I don't think I've ever been more stumped. Sorry to say, no idea either. This looks like some sort of notice board or something. And it's absolutely covered in scraps of paper. So, look. This, you mean it's an autopsy report, isn't it? And these are cases notes here, and details of prison inmates. Yes, in fact, they're all the sort of documents that only a detective could normally acquire. First went on this in the room. A mock newspaper cut. And this one here. Ah, yes, that advertisement you mean. The red-headed leak. But why? What's that doing here? Whoever occupied this room was clearly interested in it for some reason. Oh, what's this? Would appear to be a little model policeman. It's like charming, isn't it? In a way. Seeing as it's on the floor here, do you think it belonged to Inspector Gregson? It's a little hard to imagine Lord Van Zieks playing with something like this. Only about 8 centimeters tall, it could have fallen out of someone's pocket, I suppose. Maybe we should record it as evidence, just in case. Yes, I agree. Really delightful after all, in a way. The charming policeman appears to be a little worse off there. Not convinced about the charming part, but yes, you're right. That part looks like it's been fairly heavily manhandled. Almost as if somebody has enjoyed twisting it around and around for fun. We try twisting it around and around too, for fun. Oh, what's that? It appears to be some sort of key. It's tiny though. It couldn't be a key for a door. Not that size. What is for, I wonder? This is presumably the murder weapon then. Oh my. Sweet, I suppose. I think so. And also we're in Japan and really know very little about them. There's one way to know for sure, Mr. Nodo. Fire a shot. No. If I did that, I would be looking for a skilled lawyer to represent me in court. It is safe just to ask someone who might know, I think. So I suppose this is where the victim... That's right, the rope is laid around the body to show exactly how it was found. Poor Inspector Gregson himself has already been taken away. He's probably under Dr. Sai's scalpel by now, if not what happened last week. The shape of the rope would appear that the Inspector was curled up in the ball. Are you feeling alright, Mr. Naruto? You look like you are dressing a ghost. I know it's just a rope, but, well, it conjures up quite a terrifying image, that's all. Especially with that blood stain next to it. Oh, I don't understand. In some ways, the picture in our mind can be even worse than reality. Yozo-san is so strong though. She's taking this far better than I am. Ever since we came in here, I can't take my eyes off this thing. Oh, Funny enough, neither can I. It's a hairpiece, isn't it? It is. It is a bright red hairpiece. And I suppose the fact that it's right next to where this body was found means you have to accept that Inspector Gregson works, does it? And such a flame-colored red, too. Yes, that's a color we have crossed every recent anywhere elsewhere, isn't it? Exactly. This is the real clue, I'm sure of it. Some of the one on candles in the candle holder was completely blown off. Yes, there's a wax pellet in the wall behind. Look, I suppose if a bullet had hit it, it does seem likely that the bullet hit the candle. Maybe first passed through the inspector's body? Ugh, now the wax on the wall looks like blood to me. So, dann das Einschussloch. An empty fireplace makes a room feel even colder than it could be otherwise, doesn't it? And thick with dust, look. I think it would be fair to say it hasn't been used in a very long time. In other words, whoever lived in this room must have been extremely hardly in cold weather. Or nobody lived here at all, and merely visited when the occasion arose. I wouldn't like to say which is more likely. No, that's right. Only on the other. Excuse me? Oh, Inspector? Sir? Oh man, he can't possibly be able to focus on investigation when he's so upset. Oh, der Stuhl stimmt. Ah, nee. Excuse me. Sorry, sir, can't see a thing, sir. Too many tears, sir. Right, perhaps I would better leave you to work then. Excuse me. If you're looking down on us from the great beyond, Inspector, don't worry. We'll look after things at the yard. I've interpreted some deep thoughts there. Maybe we have firstly made this bros over the broken glass, haven't they? Wouldn't even really call it a window anymore. Well, if you remember the window in Mr. Natsume's room, that was totally blocked up with bricks. This one does at least let you could say nothing more about it. I'm starting to feel even more for Mr. Natsume now. Okay. Ne, ich glaube, wir liegen für nichts warten. Ich habe hier alles gefunden. Vielleicht Haus wieder da. Nope. Okay, bei dem kann ich nichts machen. Ah. First November, British Supreme Court. Lord Chief Justice Office. Weiß ich noch nicht. Oops. You have made good time. Book an express train back to London. I can hear you on Strongheart. Can you? Yes, it sounds as though he's talking to someone. Everything in place? I had a private compartment in this train, so I could check all the paperwork. It's Kazuma-sama. Ah, your timing is impeccable. It is? No. Hold up, you have heard the sickening news about the Reaper's latest devilry. Yes. I'm sure you don't believe it, of course, though, Lord Strongheart. But Lord Van Zeeks could have done such a thing to Inspector Gregson. I believe only the facts. And the facts in this case point to one thing. The unavoidable accusal of Lord Van Zeeks for this crime. Jedes Mal sagen sie, es geht um die Fakten, aber wenn ich dann Fakten aufzähle, sagen die, ja, was war denn das Motiv? Also, ein Motiv müsste schon mit dabei sein. War gut. We must bring charges against the Reaper for taking the life of our legendary detective. Oh no, surely not. It's a truly regrettable situation. Tomorrow, the Forensic Science Symposium finally begins. If we will released, though, we can show the world our justice system's swift and equitable process. So does that mean the trial is tomorrow? Precisely. In fact, this is a fine opportunity for introductions. Oh no. Kazuma? Du willst doch nicht... But of course, you're already acquainted, aren't you? Mr. Sogi, he will be present at tomorrow's proceedings, leading the prosecution. Oh, war klar. War klar. Wait. What? Kazuma... As I'm sure you are aware, he is a very capable practitioner of law. Kazuma, some prosecutor? Okay. I'm sure you can imagine that tomorrow's trial will be closely followed all over London. In fact, no. People all over the Empire will be watching closely to see how it unfolds. No salvation for anyone in the trial prosecuted by the Reaper of the Bailey. And now, the Reaper himself must stand in the dock? Right, so the public want answers about the Reaper. Answer about how and why those who escaped conviction subsequently died mysterious death. But no one seeks. Women denies any involvement in such matters. And there have been thoroughly investigations that have proven him to be innocent. That's only true, or it has been, at least. Until now. No. Tomorrow's trial will mark the start of a new chapter in our country's great judicial story. So, Kazuma will be prosecuting tomorrow? That's right. But these are defense lawyers, Lord Strongheart. Accomplishing young law practitioners cannot pick and choose their roles. And imagine what it will mean for the prosecution to know the strategies commonly employed by the defense. A divesting recommendation, wouldn't you agree? Absolutely. I have no doubt at all that Kazuma will be razor sharp as a prosecutor. But why Kazuma? There are surely many of other skilled prosecutions in Great Britain. It was a personal request. I asked to be assigned to the trial. You asked for this, but why? It will become clear tomorrow. I'm guessing you intend to stand for the defense, don't you? Although the Reaper appears to be turning down all offers of representation. Surprised such a personal request would have been upheld. It seems unprecedented, quite exceptional in fact. You are quite right, Miss Mikotoba. Tomorrow's trial will be unprecedented and exceptional in every way. After all, the accused is one of Britain's great prosecutors, right of the Empire. It would be unwise to give the public a reason to perceive it as judiciary closing. Ranks. So that's why you're happy to let a foreigner handle the prosecution? Minosuke, let's see how your skills have been honed after practicing law in this land for so many months. Kazuma, I understand why you are being so hostile to me now. This isn't going to end well, my friend. Ah yes, we noticed that there was a gun at the scene of Inspector Gregson's death. Do you know if it belongs to Lord 16? That would be a question for the lead detective investigating the scene. Well, the thing is, I wasn't sure, so she told me I should ask somebody higher up who might know. That's right, Mr. Naruto. Be direct. It's certainly a model that issued to our personal involvement in law enforcement here, which includes prosecutors, as I am sure you can imagine. That case would actually have belonged to the victim. No, Gregson had his gun on his person. What about Lord 16? Claimed he's currently not in his possession. What? According to his story, he lost it. In short, more than a little suspicious. But just because the gun in question is the same type as the defendant's is no proof that it's actually this. No, of course not. But alas, this situation is grave for Lord 16. Ja, das wird mies. Sehr mies. Und ja, das heißt, wir müssen mit ihm reden. Was wir nicht können. Ah, nice. Okay, muss ich ihm vielleicht irgendwas zeigen. Ah, mit ihm reden. Ah, okay, never mind. I'm sorry for all the worry I've caused you, but it will be alright now. Your memory completely returned? Yes, completely. I remember everything, including what I was coming here to do. Right. Summer. I can tell you how happy I am to see you alive and well like this. But how did you come to be here in London when you were suffering from amnesia? It was the voice. This past year, I've been hearing it in my head constantly saying the same thing over and over. Go to London. That's where your destiny awaits. It was that voice that guided me here to London. I'm so sorry for what's happened. Anyway, my memory might have returned to me. But there's something that won't return to the way it was before. Huh? What do you mean? I'm a persecutor now. I'm sure our paths will cross again very soon. Doesn't look like we are going to glean much more here. Well, thank you very much, Lord Strongheart. Remember, tomorrow's trial will go down in our empire's history. Much you could learn in a public gallery. Sorry to have taken up so much of your time. We will see ourselves out.
Hold it!
Before you go, Ryonosuke, what is it, Kazuma? I just wanted to thank you. Zama, what? You took my determination to hurt and brought it with you over the ocean in my stead. And you carried out my role to perfection. You always were intended to studying British law in order to change our own justice system. It was a dream, and Mr. Naruto didn't want that to die with you. Yes, but I had another purpose for coming here. Oh. I actually have a favor to ask. Which is, this trial I will be prosecuting tomorrow. I'd like you to be there to see how it ends. Right in front of me, as the defense counsel. Why? What is this all about? I know you have what it takes. But Lord Van Six would never put his face in my hands. On the contrary, he recognizes your talent. He does. It's not easy to see behind the facade sometimes. Here, have a look at this. That's... oh... That's Lord Van Six and Inspector Gregson. A photograph that must have been taken some time ago by the look of it. And who's the third person? It was displayed very prominently in the detective's office. In Gregson's office, you mean? Yes, what I'm trying to say is, if you really think you can trust the Reaper, you might find that some straight talking makes him take a different view. Take this. Oh shit. I don't understand why you giving me this. Sorry, Ryonosuke. Visiting hours at the prison are almost over. What are you doing, Suma? Okay. Jetzt aber. Ab ins Gefängnis. First November, local prison cell 1. Lord Van Six are still reading that letter. We have been gone quite some time, though. Either he's an incredibly slow reader, or it's an incredibly long letter. Might even be able to read English faster than he can. I was intending to ignore you entirely. But I can't turn a deaf ear to such an insulting Nipponese. Sorry. I didn't think you heard that. I had the case notes brought to me in a secret. I was reading them to pass the time. Yes, we heard that your trial is set for tomorrow. Which is none of your business. So, have you found a lawyer? How many times must I reiterate the same thing? This has nothing to do with you. In other words, no. We're just talking to Lord Strongheart, and the prosecutor for your trial has been decided. But expect nothing less, though I have no idea who it is. It's going to be Kazuma Asogi. Asogi? It made the color drain from his face. Ah, well done. It seems I'm going to have to engage in conversation with you again after all. Ten years ago, my older brother, who was the director of prosecution at the time, was murdered. And the killer, as you know, was a visiting student from the Far East. Not a single day goes off when I didn't curse the name of Asogi. Ancient Asogi was Kazuma-sama's father. So what a cruel twist of fate it is now, 10 years later. Man's son is to crucify me in some kangaroo court. I don't understand why Lord Strongheart apprenticed Kazuma to you. That's why he does. No doubt he knew of the young man's true identity from the outset. But what could he have been hoping to achieve? And let's not forget that it was only 8 days ago that Kazuma recovered from his amnesia. Why would Lord Strongheart assign this trial to somebody like that? Ah, Sogi. That name is the very epitome of my bane. The bane that is Uniponese. Right, your hatred of all us Japanese. No. I'd only just been appointed as a prosecutor when it happened 10 years ago. My brother Clint, the director of prosecutions, was hunting down a mass murderer, so-called professor. Led into an investigation as his partner was a certain visiting student dispatched from Scotland Yard. And that was Genshin Asogi? Exactly. I developed a deep respect for the man. He seemed noble-minded and chivalrous in the extreme to me. But none of us saw the true nature of the man. So I lost everything when it happened. My esteemed brother, the people I believed in, and any scrambles of right prevailing over wrong. Oh, how awful. To avenge my brother, I prosecuted in the Asogi's trial. It wouldn't ordinarily have been allowed, but I beleaguered the script prosecutor until he consented. What do you mean by the script prosecutor? Man in charge of the professor case inquiry, Lord Mael Strongheart. Wait, what? Lord Strongheart? He was a highly accomplished prosecutor, but he agreed to relinquish the trial to me and act as my advisor instead. Since the time, he is the one person whom I felt indebted. I'm sure you must have been seen your seal for the case and recognized your potential as a prosecutor. Anyway, time passed, but then earlier this year, I should arrive in London, but you. And, all things, as a lawyer. I felt your animosity the first time I've ever faced you in the courtroom. Your obvious Loathing of us Japanese. Oh. I kept telling myself it was illogical, but for so many years, that hatred had feasted inside me. I could no longer control it. I can understand why. I know the history. But in the same way, I've long felt the Japanese to be bane of my life. Kazuma Zogi, I'm on the bane of this. The Reaper who sent his father to the gallows. Looking for revenge, and he intends to take it in court tomorrow. Gregson transfer to the Paris police prefecture had finally been arranged for the coming month. But he will never make it to France now. Well, it's a tragedy. Oh yes, come to think of it, he did mention something about that, didn't he? I wonder, does it happen often? Being transferred internationally, I mean? The first time I've ever encountered it. The Paris police welcome an English detective is almost inconceivable. Stimmt, weil die mögen sie eigentlich gar nicht. I can imagine what kind of magic Gregson must have worked to put that arrangement in place. Sounds like that mystery has ever even the Reaper perplexed. I'm afraid to say that we were very ignorant about Inspector Gregson's standing. We hear that he was considered something of a legend at Scotland Yard. Again, it was 10 years ago that he first made a name for himself by uncovering a decisive piece of evidence that exposed the professor's identity. If it wasn't for Gregson's singular approach to the case, the discovery would never have been made. What sort of approach? When my brother's life was taken, the inspector pushed for a full autopsy. Oh my, 10 years ago? That's so surprising. Autopsy was considered a desecration of the body at the time and rarely performed. My brother was of course a noble, made the idea of it even more unthinkable. But something Gregson had up in his investigations made him determined it was necessary. Therefore conviction somehow influenced the House of Lords, and as a result I could avenge my brother's death. There must have been a great confidence in Inspector's abilities then. And it's even more inconceivable that you would have taken his life. I don't have confidence in anyone. I'm sure Gregson felt the same way. No doubt he thought of me only as the ominous Reaper, the rest of us. What really went between Lord Van Seeks and Gregson, I wonder? House of London. Ah. What was the true nature of the relationship? Are the gun used to the shot inspector that was found at the scene? Ah yes, that's not mine. Really? Because common opinion seems to be that this is. What do you expect me to say to that? Our Stronghold informs us that you claim to have misplaced your firearm. As embarrassing as it is, I'm afraid it's true. When did you lose it then? That... I don't know. I was issued with a revolver when I first became a prosecutor 10 years ago. Must have stored it somewhere, I suppose. Or left it somewhere, perhaps. You have something in common with Lord Van Seeks, after all, Mr. Naruto. A talent for misplacing things. No, there's nothing to do with me. Don't drag me into it. Don't make the mistake of associating me with this Nipponese. Oh dear, the rift is very wide, isn't it? That's not decisive evidence, clearly, but it doesn't look good, that's for sure. Lord Van Seeks, we came by this old photograph. Where did you get that? was taken when I became a qualified prosecutor. It's almost unbelievable. I assumed it was long lost. The man on the left there. Yes, that's my brother, Clint. Had to be, really. Apparently this picture was prominently displayed in Gregson's office. He had a deep respect for you, you know. Are you aware of that? Respect? That's nonsense. No, we have heard something attest to it very clearly. Respect to Junior Lestrade, no less. Well, maybe once. Yes, there was a time things were like that. We were brothers in arms, probably discussing the future of justice and other such lofty subject matter. It was a nice glimpse of past. Thank you. Peter thought I got a nice glimpse of the past then too. There was a glimmer of light in his eyes, a brief twinkle, an insight into the true nature of this man, not at all as the stone-cold reaper of the Bailey. Mr. Naruto. That's the first time he ever used my actual name. I've lost all confidence in my current justice system. I don't trust the police, judiciary, or lawyers. But there's still one thing I'm willing to believe in. What's that? That which you see in the eyes of another across the courtroom. Simple determination to know the truth. Lot 1-6? From the very first time we clashed in the Bailey almost a year ago now, I couldn't deny it, even though I dearly wished I could. Here's a Lord Nipponese, who has absolute integrity as a lawyer. There are only two other men I've known with that same look in their eyes. My brother Clint and Genshin Asogi. The man he idolized and the man who betrayed his trust. The most hideous way. When you showed me the photograph just now, it reminded me. You mean this photograph? Back then I was able to laugh. I was free of the shackle of mistrust that plagued me now. I looked to the future with hope. Since then, I protected myself against betrayal, refusing to trust anyone. But at times, the mire into which I've sunk makes it almost impossible to breathe. I'm so sorry. So, Mr. Naruto, I want to believe it. That look in your eyes. I need to believe in it. In tomorrow's trial, will you advocate for me? Of course I will. It would be an honor. I'm so pleased, Mr. Naruto. And my life is in your hands. For Lord 1-6, must have been an incredible hard thing to ask. This is why I simply cannot let the man down. Tomorrow, in the Old Bailey, against my old friend, Kazuma. Mal kurz vielleicht bis zum Gerichtsbeginn. Alter, was geht hier ab, Mann? Take November 8:56 AM, the Old Bailey Defendant's Antchamber. There's that old familiar feeling again. Rushing pressure of this historic courthouse. Oh. Actually, no. It's a little different today. An even more menacing tension in the air. There's some menacing tension in the air here today, isn't there, boss? Yes, I think so. Can only be the result of the menacing appearance of the defendant. A little more courtesy, if you please. Oh my, I do apologize. However, you are certainly not mistaken that this trial is far from ordinary. What do you mean? I'm not privy to the details, however, I understand that no jury has been selected to... Hey. What? Okay. And jury? A trial without a jury? Well, that's just like trial of the professor 10 years ago. Close court. Good morning, my dear fellows. Mr. Holmes. Have you made note of my hair, Mr. Nodo? An outright victory for science, you must agree. To be perfectly honest, so much happened yesterday that, well, I completely forgot about your little hair problem. Ah, what do you one man is a little hair problem? It is not another a day of drinking dubious potion after dubious potion. You have no idea how my stomach ails me this morning. Oh dear, how awful for you. I'm afraid you only have yourself to blame, Mr. Holmes. And good morning to you, Mr. Reaper. I'm delighted to see you looking so full of vim. And you, and you. I see London's celebrated great detective is as active as ever. Oh, you exaggerate, my dear fellow, compared to my poetry engagements with a few trivial cases. The Reaper's overbearing presence. Far greater deterrent to the black roots of crime in our capital. And whilst I may not agree with your methods, there's at least one point in which I would readily commend you. What an honor, and that would be your eye for a good lawyer, sir. Mr. Holmes. After all, behind this lawyer there is a very great mind, my own. What are you trying to say? I wish only to say that you should be prepared for quite a trial, Mr. Reaper. Sorry to barge in. Gina. What's that on her arm? It's a running band, I suppose? Father, shouldn't you be at a symposium? Been postponed. I have some free time. I decided to come along with the police inspector to see our country's up-and-coming student in action. I'd be very interested to see the fruits of your studies over the past year. Well, it's an honor to have you here. Let's hope there are some fruits to see. Otto? Yes, Gina? Why do you agree to this, huh? Why do you take him on? This real bloke, everyone says it was him what killed the boss. I'm sorry, Gina, but I just don't believe that. Well, if it were him, who was it? I don't know that yet. I don't care who calls him what, the Reaper's just a name, not just a person at the end of the day. And if it turns out it was him who killed the boss, help him. Then God help him. Very eyes indeed. Yes, the culprit deserves every ounce of your loathing. At least that may be some solace to the deceased. Please, Odo. Get whoever did this. For the boss. Gina. I hate feeling this useless, but there's nothing I can do. So you gotta find who done this and make the rich pay. Also for defense and the defendant. All will be in session shortly. Make your way into the courtroom at once, please. Alright then. Here we go. It's time, Mr. Naruto. Lord 1-6. One who lost his treasured brother to mass murderer. One who lost his treasured father in a foreign court of law. And one who lost the man who helped to escape destitution. All this misfortune, all that pain, on course to collide headlong in his trial. It's time to shine a light on all these dark events. And whatever truth is revealed, we are going to have to look it straight in the eye. Oh, gut. Genau, und das mache ich dann heute Abend weiter. Oh, ich bin gespannt drauf. Oh, Alter. Okay. Dann verabschiede ich mich hier mal. Und bis zum nächsten Mal.